your boss has not set any clear boundaries of what success looks like. They just start foisting things at you with no clear definition of success, no desired outcome, and you're an overwhelm, right? So like that is not the way to hire.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's episode of the Jeff Heilman Project. And we have a special guest with us. As a mentor and coach to entrepreneurs, serial entrepreneur Jeremy B. Shapiro helps founders find entrepreneurial freedom as a true business owner, an important distinction that many entrepreneurs can easily miss when working in their business instead of on their business. For over
Work on your
two
business,
decades,
ladies and gentlemen. Do yourself a solid.
through structured masterminding, one-on-one coaching, and consulting work, Jeremy has been helping entrepreneurs discover the core strengths in themselves and their business to attain the freedom that they deserve, which is what this podcast is all about. Your go-to podcast for strategic systems for success. Jeremy is #1 best-selling author, Your Business Growth Playbook, Breakthrough Strategies to Scale Your Business for Business Owners Who've Outgrown the Hustle. Now, I've done my housekeeping by introducing you to Mr. Shapiro. And before I even begin to ask him how he got started in entrepreneurship and letting this podcast just go wild, I want to know what's it like to be on a bicycle seat for 508 miles twice.
Wow.
That's like 1,016 miles.
I'm an avid cyclist. I've always enjoyed being out on my bike, especially like the places you can go. For me, that's often like a fun destination, craft coffee shop or roastery, or if they've got good vegan pastries somewhere, I'll make it a point to go far for that. And riding is wonderful. The parallels between cycling and business and parenting and life and all of it is like, it's a stack of circles in a Venn diagram.
What kind of prep do you have to go through to get to the point where you can sustain 500 miles?
So there is an event called the Silver State 508.
Okay.
And it's a race across Nevada and back on the loneliest highway in the US 50. The event is not just the 508 miles, where you're competing against other individuals and teams. It also has over 28,000 feet of elevation.
Oh, my God.
Oh.
And it's entirely already at high desert. So your low point, you're starting in Reno. So you're already at elevation.
Oh, my gosh.
And so we would go through in the daytime, temperatures would get up to well over 100. Mm-hmm. And at nighttime, it dropped down to about freezing. As you're going up over the top, climbing, and the sun's going down, the layers start going on one by one. And then, as you're coming down into the dawn, the layers start coming off because you're going through the desert extremes. It was a fair amount of good prep. I had a really good team. We did it 1 year as a 4-person team and the second time as a 2-person team. I should mention, a challenge is good, but what's a challenge without like an added layer of, difficulty?
Yes.
So we did this event and set 2 course records on fixed gear bikes. So we didn't even have gears. There's no shifting. And it wasn't a single speed where you have your rear wheel spinning free. It's fixed. So when that wheel moves, your pedals move. And whatever gearing you choose to climb,
at all.
there's no coasting. And when you're heading down mountain,
You got to use your legs to slow yourself down.
that cadence gets real high.
Was that a combined, yes, as a team, yes, let's do this? Or was that one voice is the majority?
I will say, looking back, like at some of the peak moments of my life, almost all go back to like a really bad idea and someone saying like, yeah, let's do that.
Let's do that.
Horrible invention of yours.
I mean, from travel to adventures to businesses to life to all this, you're taking some risk, right? You're doing something you probably have not done before that others might consider crazy.
Question for you. Entrepreneur means a ton of different things.
Yeah.
To me, it's anybody who has disagreeableness and innovation and systems thinking who is trying to improve a business. You don't have to be in your own business to do that. But you've been in your own business for a long time.
Yeah.
Did you ever have a job?
When I was in high school, I think I worked at like someplace in the mall.
Okay.
And even then, like I was kicking off my own business. And so that was like the last, job I had.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I've always worked for myself.
Always done
And
your own
that's,
deal.
to me, one of the greatest things about entrepreneurship, not the entrepreneurial thinking, but entrepreneurship and having your own business is what I call entrepreneurial freedom, right?
Yeah.
It's the ability to manage your own time, have optionality, and to choose what you will do or what you won't do. And a lot of that freedom doesn't happen when you have a job or when you're self-employed, not able to
Without
step away from the
systems
business. Yeah.
to allow you to work on the business instead of in it.
Exactly.
Talk to us a little bit about this kind of master theme that you've got, which is that growth is not based on hustle. It's not based on creativity. It's based on systems. Yeah. And of course, when I was going through and doing my homework on this, I'm sitting there going, not only is there nothing that I don't agree with, I mean, I agree with everything that you're saying, which makes me redundant on my own podcast. How do you like that, ladies and gentlemen? But it's also the fact that it's all stuff I've already covered. The mirroring of hand in glove thinking of what we're talking about. I know what I think about this, but I want to hear from you. Growth is not creativity or hustle. It's a system. What does that mean? How do you apply it? And do you have some stories, perhaps, of folks that are like before and after, where you've seen success because of it?
We often hear what I consider sort of like this toxic hustle culture. Put in more hours. You've got to outwork the competition. Like while you're sleeping, your competition is eating your business for breakfast. And it's all this fear-based mindset, right? That stresses business owners out and makes you feel like if you have a business, that's all you can have. The reality is like no one gets into business so they can never see their family again and, not pursue hobbies and enjoy life and do all those things, right? Many of us get into business for other reasons. Is there a way to build a business and not have it be an all-consuming initiative? And the answer is yes, right? So look, do you need to hustle sometimes? Sure, especially like as you're getting a business off the ground and proving it out.
Now that you know what you're doing, I would imagine it would actually be the opposite, to where you are more relaxed, stick to lesser business hours when you're starting a business because the pressure, the wiring, the glycogen burn in the brain of trying to do new habits, a new business, new supply chain, new, that's plenty intense enough. When you're starting a new business, do you encourage your folks to work less?
It's not about working less, but it's about having a clearly defined boundary. We want to get to a failure or a success quicker, right? So we want to tighten that timeline up and then recover from that failure, whatever it might be, iterate, get your MVP out there and figure out your message market match, all that stuff we talk about in the show, right? Putting in some time is important to prove that out. But what's nice is like every single one of the businesses I've started has always started cash flow positive from day one. Like I think back to, my first e-commerce business. And so we're going back to like the 90s here, right?
Yeah.
Idea for the business came up. Over the weekend, we started putting it together. And this is before the days of like, now you can have a merchant account in a few minutes. You can have a website, click, done. Like it has never been easier to start a business than it is now.
That's right.
But when we go back to this era, we're hand building this thing. And like Monday morning, the site's not even done yet. We have visitors to the site. I don't know how they found us. Somehow it got indexed. People were finding the site, starting to sign up. We even had like on the webpage, like, hey, look, like we don't have our secure server yet.
We're starting.
We don't have a merchant account. Don't put anything sensitive in here. And people are signing up and we're still building this thing. And so like by Wednesday, we have customers reaching out and asking us like, hey, like when can we get access to the product? It didn't exist yet. We were actively working on it. I still remember we had like a little thermometer measurement like on the screen showing how close we were to being online. And you could see the progress every day. What was fascinating is like we had already been talking to counsel, getting a legal entity formed, which you can't open the bank account until you have that. You can't get the EIN.
That wasn't easy to do before the internet.
No.
Like you couldn't, there's no legal Zoom. There's no boilerplate documents. You literally have to go through the yellow pages to find an attorney to help you build your e-commerce company back then.
Well, we had an attorney I'd used from my other companies. So like we were able to reach out there and say, hey, we're putting another entity together. I know. Right. They helped us out with that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And going to the bank, into a physical branch, because that's how you did it, to the bankers we know saying, hey, we're opening a new account for a new business, but, we don't have the, the TIN yet from the government because we needed the company. So it was this whole like dependency of yak shaving, right?
Yes. Talk about constraint theory.
Total constraints. Jesus. But like we knocked these things out and got the entity formed, which let us open the bank account, which let us set up a merchant account, which let us
get your
take
TIN.
Payment.
Yeah.
Right? So now we had money coming into the bank account. The lawyers hadn't even sent us the bill yet. And so we got the bill at the end of the month. It's net 30. There's already cash in the account.
Unbelievable.
Right? So like this is the power of like being able to move on something and no one was pulling all-nighters.
Yeah.
Right? Now, is this the norm? Yeah, I wouldn't say that's the norm per se. Just an example of like you can start a business and be cash flow positive from day one, especially nowadays, right? Yes, can you take on investment? And look, if you're doing R&D or you're doing pharmaceutical and those kinds of things, like that's a different. Those are wildly different, right?
Yeah, but those are capital intensive businesses that have barriers of entry where you need cash on hand in the millions just to even pretend that you can take a slice of the niche.
Yeah. And you might need a 10-year runway to
and you might need 10 years,
So
but
look, if you're getting in that
business,
space,
content business, not the case,
right? It's never been easier to get online and do that.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, like on the hustle side and like earlier business owners, right? I had a client I was working with who was running his own shop. He was a true solopreneur. He did everything in the business. And most of us, when we have a business, we have pride in the brand and taking good care of our customers and all. And he wanted to be there for his clients because he had physical products in retail stores. If there was an issue, that meant one of his customers could be offline. And that's not good. So he made sure he was always available. And this was a guy who loved the great outdoors. He enjoyed going on mountain bike rides, being out in nature, great for his physical health, mental health, all of this. But guess what you don't have up at the mountains where you go mountain biking?
If you don't have cell coverage, you don't have internet.
None of that. As a result, he wasn't getting back out to nature. He wasn't taking care of himself physically, mentally, and he was burning out. He was hustling. He was there for his customers, all good things, but that's not sustainable. So like one of the first things we did is we had him bring on an outsourced support person, somebody overseas, cover 9 to 5,
Did he
answer
have
the
the cash flow
phones.
to manage it? No problem.
Yes, there was business coming in, right? But this is one of those things that by taking some of the cash flow from the clients he did have that he had built himself through some hard work, right? He was able to leverage that cash flow and hire someone, again, overseas, not local pricing. Answer the phone, answer the emails, take care of customers. And now look, did he go out in the mountains 40 hours a week with that? No. He gets out there a little bit. He's able to take care of himself, but also he can put his time into sales. He can open new accounts, do product development, work on mission, vision, figure out the marketing plan, do all these things that build the company.
He's also got hope that burnout is not the only option. He sees that, hey, if I hire one person and I get one day a month up on the slopes where I can actually unplug and have a life, then what would happen if I actually continued building sales, augment my cash flow, and had, dare I say, 2 support people? I might actually be able to, or a salesperson, or a fractional CFO, or something like that, to where you can outsource the parts of the business that you're either just terrible at.
Well, look, for any of us as business owners, we can't be the absolute expert in all areas. It's just not realistic. I mean, do you want to do your own legal work? Probably not, unless you are an attorney. Do you want to be doing your own accounting work and all these things? Like, there are roles we should be hiring people smarter and more experienced and more focused on certain areas of the business than we are. Like that's just good sense.
When you think about a system for a business, what does that mean to you?
It's interesting. In all the years I've been working with businesses, I was always helping them out, helping these business owners get unstuck and back to growth. And what I found at some point is like I was using the same strategies, right? Like it was up here. I just hadn't codified it and written it down in a structure. And so when you do something again and again and again, patterns emerge. And I'm a dot connector. I love to see like what is the replicatable part of this and what can we cookie cutter and use again and again in a similar way. Because at the end of the day, if you have an e-commerce business or a retail, if you have a SaaS business or you're selling physical products, if you sell info, whatever your business model, the fundamentals of business under the hood are generally the same concepts. And we all want to think we have a snowflake of a business that's special and unique, but you don't understand my business. But the truth is, a lot of the same principles can be applied. So one of the things I cover in the introduction of the book that's sort of a foundational concept is this idea of understanding customer lifetime value, or CLV, right? When you know how much a customer is worth, there's so much you can do. When you know what they're worth, now you know how much you could be willing to spend to acquire them. So understanding your CLV lets you outspend your competition to acquire a customer.
That's right.
That's really valuable. Knowing your CLV.
And the more money you can spend to acquire that customer comfortably within an understanding of your CLV, the easier it's going to be for you to beat the rest of the market.
Especially the companies that are upstarting to compete with you that maybe don't know those numbers as well.
That's right.
When you know how to calculate your customer lifetime value, which, by the way, for our listeners, like this is an easy calculation. You're simply looking at how much a customer spends with you over their lifetime with you from when they start to when they leave. Now, years ago in one of my earlier software as a service businesses or SaaS businesses, I didn't understand how we could calculate a theoretical future number. If I just get a new customer today, well, they haven't left yet. How do I know how to figure out what their lifetime value is? And thankfully, I talked to some really smart folks in the world of SaaS, and they explained the easy CFO level numbers. Yeah, like this is huge to, surround yourself with folks who've been there, who get it, who know how to do it. And they showed me the really easy calculation you look at. And if we're looking at a recurring revenue business, whether you have a membership site, a drop shipping
SaaS
company,
business, whatever,
software as a service, if there's recurring revenue coming in, there's a number you want to look at that's called churn. Right? Your churn is simply, you look at a time frame, month, week, year, whatever. How many customers do you start with, and then how many do you lose? Because look, if in January, we'll use easy number, you start with 100 accounts, and you gain 10, that's great. But if you're losing 20, that's not good, right? And by the same token, if we flip that, you start with 100. If you lose 10 but you've gained 50 because of some big new promotion, right? Like, well, that's great, but that doesn't matter if we're looking at January's numbers. We're looking at how many you lost over how many you started with. This gives you a number you can dashboard, right?
Yeah.
This becomes one of those systems you're talking about. What can we do to impact churn? How do we keep people with us longer?
Yeah.
Sometimes like these, I'm a huge fan of like little hinges that swing big doors. And we see this all the time.
Yeah.
Right? If you can make a small change and get a big result from that,
Absolutely.
especially when it's a multiplicative result,
That's right.
right? Not versus an additive, right? It makes a huge difference. The British cycling team, if I can just nerd out about cycling for a second.
Do it.
right?
Absolutely.
The British cycling team was one of the worst in the world. Like they were just abysmally like dead last for so long. They brought in this new head coach, and one of the things he looked at was like, look, all the teams are looking at the newest, best gear. They're looking at the fittest riders, all these different things. Like that's sort of table stakes. Everyone's got to do that. And we're still the worst. So what do we do about that?
Yeah, if everybody has the same great gear,
Yeah.
still suck. Guess
Yeah,
what?
they're still getting the newest, latest tech and all that. So he's like, well, what else can we do? So he started looking at like, what are the little things we can do that might give us like a 1% improvement? So like, what if we have the riders wash their hands before meals and before getting out on the road and these different things? It's small. But like, if that meant they got sick a little bit less, which meant they were on the bike a little bit more and had a little less recovery, like, would that make a difference? Let's try it out. One of my favorites, what if we paint the insides of the vans white, which is kind of weird.
Okay.
But when you paint the inside of the van white versus a normal dingy gray, you can see dust and dirt and grime and all the things that are going to get into the bike and cause problems. You can catch it proactively and say, oh, this is dirty. Let's sweep it up.
Wow.
Little things.
Sure.
And everyone was a little experiment. Did they all win? No. Did all of them make a difference? No. But enough, give them that little 1% marginal gain. And you try out one little experiment in your business, in your life, in your marketing, in anything. And you have what's been referred to as the eighth wonder of the world, compound interest.
Interest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You make a 1% improvement and 1% again.
Yeah.
And it compounds. Just like when your investments or savings earn a return, every time you get that return, you're getting a return on that return as well. And it just
That's
multiplies
right.
over time.
Well, you were talking about that a system is not what a business does. It's what it does automatically.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Repeated, consistent. That's the Kaizen approach to compounding
Continuous
improvement.
never-ending improvement.
And then you asked me on the walk in here a little bit about clarity. I
Yeah.
shared with you personal application of constraint theory, which I've talked about in previous episodes. And the question you asked me was, what did that do for your clarity? Talk about how clarity beats cleverness.
Oftentimes, as a smaller business, you might be bringing on some of your earlier hires. And classically, what business owners do is they hire someone and throw everything over at them. They've hired help. And so they just start throwing projects, tasks, and it's chaos.
Yeah.
And imagine what that's like for a moment. As a new hire, your boss has not set any clear boundaries of what success looks like.
That's right.
They just start foisting things at you with no clear definition of success, no desired outcome, and you're an overwhelm, right? So like that is not the way to hire.
The handful of people who say, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm
Yeah.
focused on revenue because that's what I'm paid to do.
Yeah.
Because they want to get rid of the noise. They want to go pure signal, right? That in the case of managers, and I can tell you from personal experience, managers don't like that. If they take their chaos and throw, I need these 17 reports over the next 2 hours, basically you have a choice. And if you remain sovereign as an employee, you're going to say, I'm not going to do that. Or which of the revenue generating tasks did you want me to replace the non-generating revenue tasks with, right? Those types of questions, which are pure signal entrepreneur, sovereign focused questions, don't do well in that squishy Oreo cookie middle.
No, that squishy place is a dangerous place to be as a business owner, as a manager, as an employee. Like it's not great. So one of the things I love to do is sit down with the business owner and figure out like, what does the org chart for your company look like? Not people, but the different tasks or roles within the business. Once you know what those different things are, now you can go fill in and put down whose bobblehead goes in each box.
Totally.
If you're a solopreneur, it's going to be your face in 15 different places.
That's right.
As your smaller team, it's going to be, split up and so on. But now when you're going to go hire someone, you can figure out what are the individual things you're hiring them for. Maybe it's only one role. Maybe it's 5 things that you've grouped in some way. And here's where it gets really important. For each of those roles, you need to have a clear definition of success. By the way, when you're interviewing someone, if you can show them, hey, here's my definition of success for this role, and here's my documentation on how to do it and how to know if you're on track and how I'll be managing you
There's
and so
the
forth.
video on the standard operating procedure that I walk you through in case you get stuck.
Yeah. But as a new hire, isn't it great to know how you're going to be judged, how you can know yourself, am I doing my job or not? And as a manager, you have some clarity. Now, for our business owners who have that perfectionist mindset and are worried like, I could never hire someone to do X, Y, or Z, right? I'm an artist. I do this thing in a unique way. No one does it like me. You have that limiting belief.
Right.
Well, codify it, right? And so here's what we do. You create your system on how to do something. You run your own system. So you do it following your own system. And you modify, you realize where you missed a step or two.
Yeah.
And now when you hire someone on, you have them use it. Now, when you create that system in the documentation, it can go one of three ways. The ideal happy path is someone follows your system, hits the definition of success, and all is well.
Perfect the first time.
Right?
Never happens.
Rarely the first time.
Yeah.
Now, that's the ideal, and that's where we'll get.
That's right.
But usually what happens for a new system is you're going to have a team member try it out, they'll use it, and they won't get the result you want. And you'll go back and realize that there was something in the system that wasn't clear, that you thought was obvious, that they didn't, and so forth, right? And so you modify your system. A system is a living, breathing document. It's not set in stone.
Right.
You also volunteer your time between the ballet and the YMCA and the other things that you're
If we could just
a part
get you
of.
a little more ambition, Jeremy, my goodness.
As a volunteer myself in a faith-based organization where I'm hearing what you're speaking about as volunteers get thrown into, there's no organization and it's all chaos. How do you apply structure? How do you not find burnout as a volunteer who's offering their services?
So for certain organizations, especially the larger, well-established ones with, millions of volunteers, they actually usually have like really rigid,
Yes.
deep systems.
And they have to because
They
you
have to
can't
at that
scale
size.
beyond
No.
that.
As a systems guy, usually one of the first things I do when starting with, a younger organization,
Yes.
I put those things in. And oftentimes, even with bigger, larger, more established organizations, I'll find something lacking as a first-time volunteer. I'll build the system for it. And nothing gives me greater joy than seeing my baby of a system I've created get handed off and used and become codified and become part of that larger nonprofit. You can create structure where it's lacking. And in fact, that's often needed.
You don't need permission
Correct.
to try to do it if you have enough rapport and an open-minded first manager to say, and you can literally approach it and say, look, we don't have to have a system for this, but I created one for you and we can try it or not.
And by the way, for our listeners who are currently working in a job, right, and don't have a business, you can be a stellar, amazing part of a team by being a system person and creating
100%.
things. So I'll share with you a story that I think touches on that nicely.
Please.
When my wife and I were starting our family, about 3 months into pregnancy, I decided, we should tell my team. And so I still remember I was walking down Lincoln Ave on the phone talking to my team, and I shared the exciting news, my wife and I were expecting our first kid, and I'd hired smarter, wiser people than me on the team. Many were parents experienced themselves. And here I am as a, soon-to-be parent. And so after all the congratulations and everything else, the next question was, well, Jeremy, how much time are you taking off for paternity leave? I didn't know. I hadn't thought that far. I mean, I figured look, I'm around. I've got a laptop, a phone. I'll be there with, a younger family and I'll, I hadn't thought about it. But they asked me the question, I thought, and they said, you should take off 3 months. And I'm like, that sounds great. And the next thing they said, and this is beautiful, they're like, well, here are the systems we'll need. Here are the things that we don't know. Here are the hires we'll need.
Wow.
And we got a 6-month runway to make that happen.
Wow.
That was my team telling me what we needed to kick me out of the company.
What happened to the company when you were gone for 3 months? Did it grow?
What a great question. So,
I can't wait to hear the answer to this, ladies and gentlemen. This is awesome.
One of the tests I use, I think you've also enjoyed Kiyosaki's CASHFLOW Quadrant.
Yes.
Right? So for our listeners, Robert Kiyosaki has a great book called the CASHFLOW Quadrant. And what he talks about is you can be an employee, then you can move to self-employed. That's where you hang a shingle and think you're a business owner, but you're not quite there.
Barrier of entry is big. Cash,
right?
Liability insurance, all those are brutal.
The chasm from that side of the quadrant to the other to becoming business owner and investor.
Yeah.
The chasm is huge. Anyone can leave their job, register a domain name, or go make a few bucks and you're in business. That's not a business owner. So here's the litmus test I use to figure out, is someone self-employed or a solopreneur, right? Or are they a true business owner? And here's the question. If you were to step away from your business for a day, a week, a month, a quarter, would your business be the same as when you left? Would it have grown while you were gone? Or would it be a dumpster fire and you're out of business? For most all business owners, it's the latter. The idea of stepping away for a day, let alone a week or a month, is terrifying, right? Because you picture exactly all the things that will go wrong, right? So,
and you also have this ego attachment that says that this is my business, I own it, I'm responsible, and so therefore, ... it can't survive without me because
it helps us feel important.
That's the fallacy, right? It does help us feel important
Yeah.
until we learn better.
until we learn better. And so it was a very valuable lesson. So for 3 months, I truly was not on my email, no Slack,
Really?
no
Not
text
even once a
message,
day?
family and whatnot and things like that. But like no one on my team, I think, even had my phone number. So like I was truly offline for 3 months. Now, what's amazing about that, and that is an extended break, the ideas that come up, right? The things I can't wait to get back to implement, the enthusiasm, the passion you bring back on first day back, right, is amazing. So for our listeners who haven't taken a vacation in a while, that energy you have and excitement and enthusiasm, like that's a really good thing. But more importantly, I had 3 months where the only thing I had to worry about was my wife and my daughter. Did it matter how much sleep we got in a given night? No.
Not if you don't have to get them to go to work.
Yeah. My son came along. We did the same thing again. And now that we have kids, we take extended vacations. You and I were chatting about, France earlier. We step away for extended periods. So like summer before last, we did a 9-week trip. And many a summer, we'll go away for a month. Sometimes, 4 to 6 weeks, depending. In fact, I remember one of our summers, I think I had one meeting scheduled the whole summer.
Oh my God.
And in the middle of that one meeting, something came up and I had to cut the meeting short. It's important that if you're able to set things up in this way with the right systems and the right people, it gives you that freedom to step away from the business. Right? Now, do you have to? No. But the optionality, the being able to step away enables you to start a new business, volunteer in your community, help out with family, be there. Like for me, one of the things that's really important is being there with my family every morning, taking care of all the things that my kids and family need, walking them to school, doing all that. Like that is such an important thing to me. So when people want to schedule meetings during those hours, it's not an option.
The answer is no.
No.
Yeah.
Right? Family dinner. All the studies will show, like all these measures of success for kids is the family dinners and that time together.
Family dinner. That's
so
right.
It's huge for me. Family dinner, it's our time to connect and talk about everyone's day and catch up and, share all the things we're learning. And it's such an important connection time.
You've had all of this experience. You've done all of these different things. You've gone everywhere from volunteering to cycling to entrepreneurship and business. If you could sum it all up with like your key takeaway to a lifetime devoted as a serial entrepreneur.
One thing is do it. Test out the idea. Look for the match. Go with, you guys talk often about like MVPs or minimum viable products. Take your idea and see if it's got legs, right? Yeah. I was just interviewing someone the other day who was sharing, he ran an accelerator. He was sharing about how he was working with one of the companies there and they had this whole idea and he's like, no, just put the buy now button on the page. And like, well, yeah, but we don't have it. He's like, just put the buy now button, capture the information, credit card form, all of that. And let's see what happens with that. And like, don't even submit the secure information, just track the clicks. And you can quickly validate your idea. And what they found was the idea was terrible. And people were not interested. All the numbers were way too low.
But isn't that great to have that information in week
early,
2,
right?
Yeah.
Instead of year 2?
Yeah. So, I think about this in the times I've applied this in business and life, like test the idea out, try it out.
Shoot bullets before you shoot cannonballs.
If it's got legs, if it looks good, and you can figure out your next gate, your next test, right? And iterate quickly and recover from that failure fast.
An interview that I heard, probably 2007 with Tony Hawk. He was featured in Success Magazine, and back then, Darren Hardy had a CD that would ship with Success Magazine, and you could listen to an audio recording of typically the front page person that he was interviewing. And he talked about the fact that he's like, basically at this point, I just do cool projects with cool people that I want to do.
Yeah.
Talk with us a little bit about what are some of the cool projects that you're working on that you're not under NDA not to disclose, like anything that you can publicly talk about.
My passion thematically has always been around entrepreneurship, not just for myself, but all of my businesses now for 30 years have been in the service of fellow entrepreneurs, right? And helping them to grow. Writing this book and that whole publishing journey, so interesting and insightful and fun. And the people I met on that journey, the things I learned that I was able to apply and do and see those small hinges that swing the big doors in terms of book publication and all, was great. So I've loved that. And then the doors that the book has opened as well has been huge. There's, when you're an expert at something, that's great. Maybe people want to hear about that. But when there is this
when you're the
tangible,
guy that wrote the book.
Yeah. Right. Even though the information was already all there, right? It opens doors. So for me, like when I've done consulting work with clients, I only take on like boutique consulting for clients that I think would be fun to work with, where I can make an impact and a difference, right? Like I'm not looking for like, what do I get from this? I'm looking for how do I make sure there's an ROI there that works for everyone. And the moment there's not an ROI, like, and they, graduate, good. My time there is done. I've left my mark. I've helped out.
That's right.
And so that's really fun to do.
Business isn't the business of hooking people into retainers.
Yeah.
The business is the business of adding value.
Yeah.
And you'll let the compensation take care of itself.
And that's something that I cover again and again in the book, because some of these strategies, when you look at it, you're like, oh my gosh, like that's just, I don't know if that feels right. Caveat to any of the strategies I cover in the book is you have to be delivering value. So if you're going to increase your prices, for example, and we talk about pricing a fair amount in the book, right? That is a good thing, and you should be able to increase your pricing whenever you want.
Yeah.
So long as that value is there, you'll know you're on the mark. A client I was working with, and she had built from nothing a low six-figure business, solopreneurship. It was great, part-time. And she had someone reach out to her saying, hey, I love the business model you have. Can you fly out and teach us how to launch the same business you have just where we are? And so we were talking about this opportunity. And she's like, I'm trying to think about what I should charge. She's like, I'm thinking like maybe like $1,000 for the day, but then I've got to pay for my flights and my hotel and all these other things. And I'm looking at her and I'm saying, well, where's this number coming from? You're telling me you're going to take everything you learned on how to launch a six-figure business in less than a year from scratch, give someone the business in a box, they can go plug it in and get the same output you're getting. And you're thinking about charging like $1,000 before expenses?
That's like a fancy dinner.
Right? I'm like, why aren't we, adding some zeros to that?
Yeah.
Right? Why aren't we doing this, what we call value-based pricing? And the value, we said, well, what if you said $10,000 and they cover all the expenses? And like the look on her face of like, oh, how could I do that? I'm like, oh, look, practice that, get comfortable with it.
Yeah.
And then.
But it starts with that initial shock of like, wow, am I really worth that much? No, it's not about how much you're worth.
What the value?
I've coached kids, young guys growing up who are now making $15,000, $20,000, $30,000 a month in their own business.
Yeah.
And they were making $3,000 a month working at a real estate office that they hated.
Right.
And all I did was help them unleash the value to their clients. And it's market rate.
Yeah.
It's what is the market going to support for it? It's not about gouging.
In all of this, it's exchange of value.
Those of you that are listening or watching us on YouTube, Jeremy would like to add value to your life by offering you an audio overview. If you'd like a sample of the book right now, you can go to yourbusinessgrowthplaybook.com and I'm assuming download a audiobook, like parts of it, hear the sample of the book, which is available on Amazon and at your local bookstore. So he wants to add value to you by making that available. So go to his website and download and start listening.
Yourbusinessgrowthplaybook.com.
Perhaps we'll invite Jeremy back.
Jeremy
and
Shapiro,
if he'll be here
based
at the
right
Jeff
down the
Heilman
street
Project,
here in San
we
Jose.
love that.
Happy to have him here as our guest.
Thank you, Jeremy, for being on the show today and for adding value to our lives personally, being good friends, and now adding value to those who are listening.
Being such a good stud for Andrew, our son and producer.
Yes.
So thanks everybody for being with us.
Thank you.
Jeremy Shapiro on the Jeff Heilman Project. We will see you next week.